Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the John Gaunt live show. Hope you can join in today. Listen, I am old. That can't be denied, but I'm not dead yet. But why are we treated as if we're second class citizens? This is what I want to talk about today. Ageism. I hate using isms myself, but there's only one way to describe it. And the question is, why? Age discrimination, as far as I can see, is alive and well in the United Kingdom. Why is it still considered socially acceptable to call somebody a gammon or a boomer or an old man or an old lady? It shouldn't be, should it? Because we, and not just me, I'm only just in the boomer generation because it was 1964, I think, the cutoff point. I was born in 61. But it's our generation and the end of the generation behind just before us who created the wealth we did have before Starmer took over. But I want to know, why is there so much ageism? I've faced it really badly in the last couple of years after my so-called fall from grace. I can't get a job. I couldn't get arrested in the media. Why? Because they want young things, 20-somethings, 30-somethings, who, in my view, know sweet FA about the world. They've got no experience. But it's not just in my profession, broadcasting and journalism. This cult of the youth and culture of youth being the best is right through our society. How many people do you know were really good at what they did? They get to a certain age, 50, and they're kind of written off. Well, now there's a new report out saying that this ageism has got to stop. And I think it's got to stop for more than just for the older generation, but for the good of society. I think I've spoken about this before. When you've got a mixture of people at work, different age groups, etc., it has a kind of moderating approach on the youth. But now, if you'll write off everybody at 50, I mean, I know there's certain jobs, teachers and police officers, who retire at 50, and good luck to them. But there are loads of other people. And even those people, I don't know why a copper has to go at 30 in today's age. They could easily do another 10 more years if they wish to do so. And that's what we've got to look at. Why are we writing off all these people who can work and losing all this experience in the workforce? And then why do we treat people over 50 as if they're second class citizens? Or am I just moaning? I want your views. Do you find the word boomer and gammon deeply upsetting? I just laugh it off, but it's used as a way of putting you down, as if your view doesn't count. You wouldn't call somebody the N word, would you? You wouldn't call somebody the P word, or you wouldn't say to somebody who's homosexual, your view doesn't count because you are a P word, would you? But they can put you down if you're older, and that's got to change. And I'm delighted that MPs are highlighting this. Nothing will happen, of course, because the media is controlled by the very people who hold these attitudes. But my question to you today, and I'm willing to take your comments, so let's get them in, please. Why do we discriminate against people who are over 50, the so-called boomers, the so-called gammon generation? Connor says, hi, John, I'm tuned here in Belfast. It's not just their age and experience, it's the fact that they can easily and happily mentor the younger ones. Yeah, if you keep them in the workforce. Well said, Connor. I agree with you. We just write off all these people. And then there's a jealousy that these people have got houses and they've got pensions and they've got money. There's a guy called Benjamin Butterworth. He's a right little right-on Charlie. He's on GB News. He's a lefty. But he goes on about this all the time. Oh, it's so hard for us to get work. We can't get a house. We can't do this. We can't get a mortgage. Well, it was tough for everyone, Ben, when we were younger. Stop bleating. He wants to tax people more. He wants a redistribution of their wealth. No, people who have, I haven't got a pension, but because I'm an idiot, but people who have worked, saved up, got a pension, who have made money on their house, good luck to them, I say. Can we stop the politics of envy from the youth? But there is rampant ageism in politics, media, and the workplace. Everything from cancel culture to the woke agenda. Older generations like me and you often are being dismissed, despite their massive experience and wisdom. That's just not fair. So my first question to you today is, why is ageism the only ism that's still allowed? How do we change that? How do we change it? And how do we value people who are older, more experienced, and keep them in the workforce? I'd love your opinion on this, please. Just quickly send me a message, whether you're watching on Twitter, Facebook, or indeed on my YouTube channel. If you're listening later, I still want your views. Put them up for me, or send me an email to john@johngaunt.com. And can I just say, if you want to make sure you never miss these shows, because at the moment, because of my situation, we're having to do them at different times. If you subscribe, and it's free, to my YouTube channel, you will always get a notification when I'm about to go live. Okay, so it's John Gaunt TV. Press the subscribe button on the video, and then you'll get all of my updates. Afternoon, Gaunty. Afternoon, all, says Phil. Thank you, Phil. You got a comment to make. Let's have your comments as well, please. I'm saying there's a rampant ageism in this country. I'm saying that's destroying the country, because it means these people are not in the workplace, aren't contributing, as the previous contributor said, not helping younger people as a mentor. And I know some of it is to do with computerization. I think I was the generation where, when I left school, computers weren't really there. So I struggled. When I was a scriptwriter on Emmerdale, I used to have an old Amstrad, and I used to go mad. I used to want to beat it up. I used to want to smash it and throw it across the kitchen, because I didn't understand how it worked. I was talking about this with my wife, Lisa, this morning. She says, yeah, but things have changed now, John. What the younger generation do, and I've started to do it with doing these podcasts. I used to ask younger people how to set up a stream, or how to do this, or how to do Canva, how to make a nice picture for my little picture that I want to put up with the video. And then I just realized I should just do what Rosie and Bethany do, my daughters. You just go onto YouTube, Google it, find a video. There's hundreds of videos about every subject in the world, and you can learn how to do it. So I've had to put myself into that mindset. And what it's done is it's freed me. But no one kind of Lisa told me and the girls told me, but that's what needs to happen. You don't have to be held back. So I don't think people who are over 50 should be stigmatized by the rest of society, and indeed by employers. It wouldn't be allowed. You wouldn't be able to say, oh no, he's too old, he's set in his ways. Sorry, you would be able to say that, but you wouldn't be able to say, oh, he's an ethnic minority, he'll never learn how to do this, he won't be able to do that, he's gay. Oh no, don't want that in the workplace. It's wrong, and we're losing something. And I guess I started to think about this last night, and then coincidentally this morning, there's this report out. Rick out of the Jam, the drummer of the Jam, of course, died yesterday. That hit me like a ton of bricks. The Jam were not my favourite band. My favourite band ever are the Specials, Dexys Midnight Runners, and Bob Marley and the Wailers. But I love the Jam as well. I think that was Paul Weller's best work. I know he's done some good stuff since. But the Jam, 18 hit singles, and it's just like part of your youth, isn't it? It's just part of your youth. And it made me feel older straight away that Rick Buckler had died yesterday or the day before yesterday. And I know, because I put a tweet up and a lot of people reacted to it. That's part of my youth, part of my childhood. I can remember going to see the Jam many times. One I can really remember is, I think it was the Setting Suns tour. Was that what it was called? Or Rising Sun? Setting Suns. And it was at the old Bingley Hall, no longer there, in Birmingham. And it was like they were at the height then. But it's a memory and it's there. And it's a great memory. And I was young and I could dance all night and all those things. So that made me feel older, but it also made me realize that music that we had, the punk, the reggae, the ska, it was great music. And I don't want to sound like an old fart. You're an old fart, Gaunty. But it isn't the same now, is it, with the bands? They're either totally manufactured or it's manufactured outrage. It's not what we had. We are very honoured to have grown up during that period, even if you weren't into punk. The new wave of music. As soon as we got rid of all those hippies with their progressive rock, yeah? Don't you think? And it did make me feel old. Then I thought, well, you're not old, John. Look at you now. You'd been down on your luck. You were very, very poorly, and you've come back. I was talking to a mate today, Dave, who phoned me up. He's just given me a huge contribution, which I'm really grateful for. Thank you, David, to help me with the podcast. But he called me up this morning, and I was just full of it. Not being big-headed, but just confident about what I'm doing. Reinventing myself. I'm 63. I'm not bragging, by the way. But I sat on my arse for a couple of years because I was so poorly. Then I was depressed without a doubt, although I never got diagnosed as that, but I think that's what it was. And only now am I re-emerging. And I'm loving it. And I'm doing it all myself. I get some hints and tips from my mates, like Phil helps me out. But basically, this time, it is just me, the computer, the camera, and my little Mac computer. And I'm just doing it myself. And I'm enjoying it. And I'm not scared of it. And I mean, the bit where you've got to sit here and talk live, that's never scared me. And I can just do it. And I'm back to what I like doing. So you can reinvent or relaunch yourself. We are capable of learning. Why don't employers see that? And why don't MPs see that? And business leaders? You are rejected. When I was trying to get back and trying to earn any kind of living, I did 3 jobs. I couldn't get a job in the media, even as a producer or something. Could have been my reputation, I guess, but it's probably my age. I couldn't get a job. I had my own page in the Sun. I can write. I have written TV. I have written soap operas. I have been a national broadcaster. I have won all these awards. I'm not bragging now. I'm just telling you. But could I get a job? No. So the job I ended up doing, I did 3 dead-end jobs. I worked for Majestic Wine, but it wasn't them. It was a side company, answering phone calls at Christmas, people moaning they hadn't got their delivery, basic minimum wage. I then did a job with a posh supermarket, delivering. The second job was delivering for that company that you know I'm talking about. And I was useless at it, but I did it. And then I got a job. What was the final job I had? Oh, working in a posh supermarket. I enjoyed the people, but it was the minimum wage again. Again, I'm not bragging. Loads of A-levels, loads of O-levels, and a degree, loads of experience, and I'm filling shelves. I'm not looking down on people who do that. But what I'm trying to say is, where's the pathway back in? Where is the pathway back in for old farts? And there isn't one, is the answer. And so in the end, I got so fed up with it, I just decided, well, go back to what you can do. Use this, use your gob. So I've set up these, but I had to have my confidence back. What I'm trying to say is, when I listen to radio stations now or certain TV stations that are trying to be on the button, controversial, or whatever, it's just useless. They're kids. There's a woman who on a TV station, she's so excited. I remember when I got into radio, this guy, Andy Wright, he's dead now. He discovered me. His other claim to fame was he discovered Pam Ayres, but we'll put that to one side. However, he once said to me, John, you can't be excited about everything. And I said, what are you on about? He said, well, you look at a subject as if you're the first person ever to see this or notice this. But lots of people have done it. You've got to have an element of being part of the bigger fabric and stuff. And I think he's right. Well, there's this little girl, and she is a girl, right? And she's on, you'll know who I'm talking about if you think about it logically. She's on the telly, and she screeches away with her partner, this fella who's on with her, not a partner in that way. And it's just useless. They've got no current affairs knowledge, no experience, no history. So they don't know about Dunblane. They don't really know about the disappearance of people like Madeleine McCann. They haven't done the arguments. They're not old enough. It's a bit like when I say you shouldn't be able to vote until you've got your own dustbin. I kind of believe that, or had a child, because you've got no experience of life. See, I can do this reverse gammon thing and attack the youth, but at least the youth will suddenly, eventually be us. And that's why I can't understand why they attack older people. Because sure as eggs is eggs, they're going to be like that. I remember I used to take the mickey out of my dad for being deaf. And then I went deaf with the hearing aid. And now people do it to me. I was getting off the train coming back from Oxford at Coventry Station. And I've got a little overnight bag thing, yeah? And I've got all my gear in it and my computer, and I've got my microphone so I can do my shows. And so it's a heavy bag. I was getting off. And the way I get off the train is I put it down on the platform first and then lean on it and walk out. This fella, I'm sure he was being nice. He's about 30. He said, "Oh, can I help you, sir?" When do you suddenly get called sir? Well, when do you suddenly become old? I don't think I'm old. I said, no, I'm fine. I just need to rest that there while I jump out. And he went, "Oh, sorry, I didn't mean anything by it." I said, no. It's all right. It's all right. But that's what happens. I haven't got to the stage yet where people stand up on the train and offer me a seat. I think that's going to be a great advantage of having grey hair. But are you following what I'm trying to say here? When do we become old? And do we have to become old? And should we be treated like second-class citizens? I say no. Phil says, afternoon. Cliff Dixon. My previous job to this one was working on an agency for a major energy drinks company. I used to get all the international visits from head office because I covered central London, says Cliff Dixon. After great feedback, I asked the area manager when I was going to be taken on by the company direct, which we were told would happen if we did a great job. I was told it would never happen, as my age didn't fit the company profile. I left soon afterwards and have been working for their main competitor for nearly 4 years. Thank you for that. Thanks for being so honest. Let's have more examples of that, where you've been a victim of age discrimination. I had that. I haven't told you this. I applied for a job with the DWP. Boo, hiss the enemy. Department of Work and Pensions. The woman in the dole office said, "Why don't you apply and get a job here?" She said, "You're articulate, you're obviously well educated." I said, "All right, then tell me how to do it." I went through this torturous, went on for about 3 months saga. You have to do an interview on the telephone, then you do one on a video, but you're talking to a bot, and then all these, the psycho tests and the rest of it. Pass. I didn't get the job. Well, I know why I didn't get the job. 2 reasons: either my age or my politics, because it's a civil service job. Because one of the women said to me, "Oh, what do you do? Do you still make a radio?" Because she knew who I kind of was. I said, "Oh, I've started doing podcasts." She went, "Oh, that's probably why you didn't get the job." I didn't get a job because of my political views and my age. Now that is wrong. Do you agree? Connor, you're doing a great job, John. No doubt about it. Well, I might be, Connor, but I ain't earning any money. Phil says music's terrible these days. Mass manufactured tripe. Yeah, when I was thinking about the Jam yesterday, you just can't believe it, can you? Phil says you should be on Talk Radio. Replace that god-awful Jeremy Kyle. I feel you were an early victim of woke cancellation, mate. Well, don't feel it. It's true. I was the first person to be cancelled by the radio industry. But Jeremy Kyle, I'll tell you something, he's a nice bloke. I really like him. I do. I don't like the show he's doing now because he should be doing what he was doing before. Jess's Confessions, that kind of stuff. That's what he's best at. So I don't really know how he's holding that down. I agree with you. Niven Casey, hi, John. Here's a pathway back. Front line of the Ukraine. Thank you. We don't have the troops, so most of the young won't do it. You're right. Did you see today they're beginning to talk about conscription? It's a good idea on the level of it will make Starmer look even more of a prick than he is, right? No way a kid's going to fight in Starmer's Barmy Army. Absolutely no way whatsoever. So it probably will be Dad's Army, Niven. I could be Corporal Jones. I love that program, don't you? But I could see that happening. It'll be old ones. We're the only ones who want to defend our country anyway, aren't we? Our rights, our traditions, our culture, our history. I want to defend that. I don't want to go to the Ukraine and defend it for them. But you understand where I'm coming from. He's not going to get kids, the me generation. Anyway, they wouldn't want to use a rifle. They're too busy with their trigger finger on their mobile phones, aren't they? And I don't really want to turn this into an attack on the youth, because I think they've been let down by our generation as well. But you can't have it all. You've got to have a bit of struggle. And anyway, going back to your point about talk radio, there's no chance of me getting a gig there. I've always told my eldest lad that any job beats no job. Yeah, I probably agree with that. The younger ones are still in school, and I've told them the same. Afternoon, John, says Chris Ashmore, one of my oldest friends. Clean shaven? Nope. What does that mean? I've shaven beard off. I thought I looked smart. Chris, how would you know, you old hippie? James Lee, I love going to shows. Keep up the good work. Well, I am keeping up the good work, but I do need you to help me. Support me, $5 or upwards, by going to www.buymeacoffee.com/John Gaunt. We are getting the numbers now. We are getting the adverts, as you've probably seen on YouTube, and we've also got them on our podcasts. But that brings a trickle of the money until you get a huge audience. So I still need your direct help. Buymeacoffee.com, John Gaunt. But I'm trying to do, I've always done this. I've never really worked for anyone. Even when I worked for the BBC, I was freelance. And when I worked for Talk Radio, I was Talk Sports, I was a freelancer as well. I've built my own, and the Sun, I built my own career. I've never had PAYE, which is probably why I'm in the shit now, because I didn't save any money. And then I got badly ill, as you know. And what I'm trying to say is, I've been a self-starter, and I'm doing it again. I'm not asking for medals or plaudits, but I don't see young people getting off their arse and doing that. I think they're so busy about their rights, they don't know their responsibilities. Maybe that's because the way they're taught in schools. So why are the over 50s treated with contempt by the media and employers? So the media, they portray us as idiots who don't know what we're doing. We could navigate to Cornwall before bloody motorways and before, what's it called? Google Maps. Like me and my dad, we used to write down the directions of where we're going on the back of a Kellogg's packet, the inside of a Kellogg's packet, and follow that and follow a map. Yes, I know it's easier now with Google, but we could do these things. But we're treated as, does he take sugar? So why are we treated like this? Because the people who are doing it are going to become old as well. Why doesn't society recognize our experience? Like that term boomer. Next time somebody calls me a boomer, I'm going to headbutt them. They'll soon see who's the boomer in the room then. I'm talking metaphorically, of course. But it's wrong, isn't it? It's wrong just to write off people. I've got a very good friend who I meet most days in my local cafe, Rosemary, and she told me off months and months ago because she was a head of a school, head teacher. And I said, oh, the headmistress is in. And she said, don't you call me a headmistress. She's very stern. She said, don't you call me a headmistress. That's sexist. I was a head teacher. And at first I thought, what's she being that pernickety for? But then I saw it. It was a kind of institutionalized way of putting her down and her experience. She doesn't like to be called old either, or elderly, or an OAP. She hates that. Absolutely hates it. And as I've got a bit older, I've known her now for about a year and a half, I've begun to understand where she's coming from. This woman has got massive experience. She taught kids and looked after schools, special schools for people with neurodiversity, as we call it now. Used to be called autism and all that kind of stuff, or just bad lads. She knows about people. She knows about society. She's got a wealth of knowledge. All you have to do is stop, look, and listen. But many of us don't do that. Many of us just don't do that. And when we talk about free speech, everyone's got free speech apart from older people. Have you noticed that? We're boomers, we're gammon. We vote for Brexit. We vote for Nigel Farage. We're the filth. We're the right wing. We're the far right. Are we? Or are we just people who've got experience of life and have got a different perspective to the trendy London media? Going back to that girl I was telling you about on that TV station, it's just ridiculous. We're going to be doing this all day. Oh, I'm so excited. There's never been another strike or demo in London before. Take her outside. Cool her down. But there's loads of them like that. And you listen to them on a radio station, and I'm not picking on talk radio, but the talk genre. They've got no depth. I've stood in puddles which are deeper than most of these people's understanding of how the world works. Can I get a job? No. I know mates who are architects, mates who are town planners. Can they get a job? No. Too old. They don't fit those psycho tests. What the hell are they about as well? With the DWP job, right? Everything was like, Muhammad comes to you with a problem. Abdul, then it was literally every other name was a Muslim or an ethnic name. I should have kept these forms because they were a cracker. They were like, no, why can't it just be Rich comes to you and asks you this question? And it was like, how would you handle this? And what you had to basically do, which I think I passed because I just lied, I just gave them the answer they want because I've got a bit of a brain in my head. But they wanted the common purpose answers. So the answer wasn't pull yourself together. Oh, somebody has been bad-mouthing of you. You're told about this by Muhammad. You confront Abdul about it. What do you say to him? Of course, the real answer is, you've been effing talking about me. You do that again and I've put you right across that wall, right? But you can't put that. Not if you're trying to get a job with the DWP. DWP. It's ridiculous. So you lie and say, oh, we'll go and have a chat and talk about it in an inclusive way. No, you wouldn't. You'd give him a slap. James Lee, I love Gaunt's shows. Keep up the good work. It's true. I'm only saying what you think. It's all nonsense, isn't it, all of this? All nonsense. Jared Neary, Labour want to call other people terrorists and they are against older people. They want to call older people terrorists and they're against older people. You're right. I'm now getting old because my seat customers call me uncle. That's true. It's like when people call you sir. Like I was saying earlier, Cliff. The Overton window has shifted so far to the left. David Blunkett would now be considered far right. You're probably right there, my friend. Those of us right of centre have been gaslit for so long. Everyone thinks we're far right. Even moderates are branded extreme these days. We need to rebalance the spectrum. Well, I think that's what I'm trying to get at, really. I think that's one of the things I'm trying to get at. People need to listen to our experience of life. And of course, we've got to listen to young people's views. I mean, today they've done a whole new thing about knives, haven't they? You're not going to be able to buy a knife now. I mean, I can understand why if it's a kid, you don't sell them a knife. And you might want a few more rules in there. But to watch that stupid Yvette Cooper on the telly this morning, oh, it's so important. She's like that other girl. They're almost orgasmic over minor, ridiculous things. We're going to stomp out knives. We're going to blunt the end of them. Encouraged by Idris Elba, right? But it's just nonsense. The answer is I can buy a knife because I'm not going to go and stab somebody and kill them, generally. But we know who we shouldn't be selling the knives to, don't we? And it's not the knife or the gun that kills somebody. It's people that kill people. And then if you were tough on crime, see, the problem is we've got Sadiq Khan in London, who I see is now saying that he's winding up to have another go at Donald Trump. That's the problem. We're so stuck in diversity that diversity is only for people of an ethnic background or women or gay people or trans people or whatever. But it's not for older people who might have traditional views about our culture, our heritage, our way of life. We're not allowed to hold those views. They don't count. Well, I'm not saying that our views are, my views are right. Obviously, I believe they are. But I think I should be allowed to debate them along with somebody else who says I identify as a fridge. Haven't I got as much right as the fridge to say, well, actually, I'm a white, fat, heterosexual fella who believes in tradition? No, because you're a gammon. You're a boomer. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. We have diversity for everybody apart from the majority. And I don't understand that. I don't want people who are identifying as fridges or think they're in the wrong body to be ostracized or pushed out of society. But I would like my view, my opinion, my attitudes to be taken seriously. I've been watching a lot of these, people have been putting up Harry Enfield sketches and even Little Britain stuff and saying, oh, you'd never be able to do this anymore. And they're kind of right, aren't they? They're right. We have sacrificed our country and our culture on the so-called altar of diversity. And I'm all for it, really. I believe you should be able to be whatever you want to be. But I don't think you should be able to impose that on other people. And I certainly think it's age discrimination. That's got to stop. Equal rights for pensioners. Well, not just pension. Well, no one's going to be a bloody pensioner. What's it now? 67 before you get a state pension. We'll all be dead, right? But do you see what I'm trying to say? I'm trying to say equality must be for everyone. When you watch those debates, I used to do those programs myself as publisher because maybe I should dye my hair like a lot of people in telly and pretend I'm younger than I am. But I used to do those programs on a Sunday morning. I wouldn't get invited on one of them now. I'm too old. Or if I did get invited, it's why I stopped doing a lot of that telly because I was just being invited on as the punch bag. I may as well have Lonsdale written down me because I didn't have the trendy views. And now it's not just trendy views, lefty views. There's a whole load of generation of trendy so-called right-wingers who think they know about the world. I can't believe it, what's happened. And so the debate is all their debate from their perspective. No house, no mortgage, no kids, probably gay, etc., etc. And it's just not good for society. Do you follow what I'm saying? Anybody else want to comment? I'm going to stop in a minute. I identified as a short-ass 51-year-old with bad eyesight, with one ear that doesn't work and a thinning head of hair. Thank you. Mickey says, Mark Twain once said, never argue with stupid people. And George Galloway uses this as well, because they'll drag you down to their level and beat you with their experience. That's all we seem to be doing now. The stupid people rule the asylum. Well, they do. Because the stupid people are the ones who then made Doctor Who so woke. And it's failed. It's failed miserably. Don't get me wrong. The guy who reinvented Doctor Who, whose name escapes me now, but also wrote It's a Sin, which I thought was brilliant about the HIV, AIDS, gay crisis. I thought it was just tremendous telly, brilliant writing. He's a very talented guy, but he's gone one step too far with Doctor Who, hasn't he? Do we really need to talk about gender in that? Wasn't it better when it was just the Daleks and you hid behind the settee and the Cybermen? And I suppose, again, with Rick from the Jam dying, that was a simpler time, wasn't it? 3 of them in a band, just singing great songs, no arty-fartiness in the lyrics, straight to the point. That's entertainment. This is the modern world. Those songs down in the tube station at midnight, you see it, don't you? You see the whole thing. Maybe I've just got it wrong. The white heterosexual middle-aged man has no voice now in modern-day Britain, except on YouTube, perhaps. Well, I'm not sure about that, my friend. Judging by my figures, I'm trying. By the way, if you do like what I'm doing, please tell your friends. Please pass it on. on social media. Please also as well subscribe to my YouTube channel, then you won't miss any of them. And if you can support me, that'd be even better. Support me here, www.buymeacoffee.com/John Gaunt, because I don't just want to talk about Starmer or kind of their politics, their agenda. I want to talk about things that affect me and you and ours and yours. Do you know what I'm trying to say? That's why I'm saying this thing about age. We've got to get out of it. We have got to get out of it. It is ludicrous that we have not got an inclusive society. Diversity is not our strength, because diversity isn't really diversity. It's a narrow road, right? Of, do you believe in these things? And if you don't, then you will be sacrificed. You will be cancelled. Even people like J.K. Rowling, for daring to say what she says about trans, they've attempted to ostracize her. You would not get a commission on the BBC now, and not just the BBC, ITV as well, where you were saying something which was against the mainstream politically correct woke thing. I mean, I really like that show with the vicar in it, and the guy who used to be in Robson Green. What's it called? Grantchester. But the new vicar, and it's set in 1950s, he's an Asian guy. Now, I haven't actually got a problem with an Asian actor playing a traditional white part. I understand about that kind of casting. But they're playing him as an Asian character. Well, there wouldn't be an Asian vicar in those days. I remember when I was working on Emmerdale, they said, we're going to have this new family in the village. They're two women who are living together. So I said, what do you mean, two women living together? So the producer said, yeah, two women, lesbians. I said, so in which episode does the cottage get burnt down? And I laughed. And a guy called Jimmy, who was a gay guy who worked on the show, he fell about on the floor because it was a funny line. They got to remember this is 20 odd years ago. And why are you saying that? That's a bit this and that. This was all before this woke stuff. And I said, because it's the truth. In the Yorkshire Dales, they would not accept two women having it off. They wouldn't. They'd burn the cottage down. Now, I know things have changed, but that was it was as if I'd just said, more tea, vicar. Do you understand what I'm trying to get at? I just find this ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. I've been enjoying the EastEnders thing, and the EastEnders changed over the years, and rightly so. And we need to see characters from ethnic minorities, and their views and their attitudes. I agree with all of that. But also, you do need to see people who've got a different attitude to life. And I just think the whole world of TV, it's just all false. What have we got here? Russell Davis and Stephen Moffat. That's right, Chris. Russell T. Davis is the genius who reinvented Doctor Who. And Steve Moffat, he took over there. He's a great guy on telly as well. But I'm sorry, Doctor Who's crap. They've messed up with this new Doctor. Not because he's black. I don't give a shit what colour he is, right? But did you see the one where they're talking to the little monster? I mean, it's just nonsense. They'll have Daleks soon identifying as Cybermen. It just can't work. It just doesn't work. Where are we next? Russell T. Davis says, Stephen Freestone, thank you. I've just subscribed. Come on, folks, let's keep Gaunty going. What have you subscribed to? Oh, my YouTube channel. Yeah, you can do that. I don't even know how that works. I've had quite a few people becoming members. If somebody can explain how it works, it'd be great. So thank you for doing that. Right, I'm going to stop now. I just wanted to provoke this discussion, and I'm sure it's something we can carry on social media later. But why are we writing older people off? Why? And do you think ageism is getting worse? Because I do. I definitely do. And I think it affects free speech, because if you won't listen to somebody who might use the wrong word or wrong term, because that happens all the time. People pick up on one word or one term. It's happening now overnight with Donald Trump when he said Ukraine could have stopped the war before it began. The BBC are reporting that as if he's saying it's their fault, and that Putin hasn't done something wrong. I don't think that is what he was saying. It was clumsy what he was saying. But I think what he meant was, why has it gone on for 3 or 4 years? And why have I tried to sort it out in a week? That's what he was trying to say. Do you understand what I'm getting at myself? Can we change this? Has it all gone too far? I'd love your opinions. Don't forget, you can drop me emails or you can get in touch with me via YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. I just haven't got the answers today. But I just think silencing older people and not letting them in the workplace is definitely not the way to proceed. More voices like Gaunty needed in our country, spearheading the return of common sense. I'm not sure about that. It's just my views. I was talking to David today, the guy who's just out of the blue said, let me get in touch with you, John. I don't want to buy you a coffee. I want to send you something direct. And he sent me a massive donation directly. He said, I don't want those coffee people taking all your money, which was really kind of him. But what he's basically said was, it's great that you're back doing this and that you're not on a big corporation, a media corporation, where they'll be trying to stop you to saying things. Like, I think I told you when I was on BBC London, you only had to say the M word, right? And you'd look up and it was like being a guppy in a swimming tank. You know, they've always got a big window which they look through into the studio. You've seen Night Caller, haven't you? So when they look through into you, and it'd be full of management. And I'm not saying whatever I'm saying because they don't trust you. They don't trust, even though you get them record audiences. I got record audiences on, I'm not bragging, I'm just telling the truth. On every radio station I've ever worked on, the audience has gone like this. I was telling Dave today, when I took over from Ian Collins, I'm going to name him because he's crap, right? Ian Collins, he's on Talk, isn't he, or something there? I took over from him on that mid-morning show on Talk Radio. My producer, and sue me if you fancy, he came in after the first hour and he said, there's the emails and text messages. I think emails, text, whatever. I said, what do you mean? I haven't said anything yet. He said, oh, no, Ian doesn't get any callers. The callers will drop off now. So use these. I've made them up. Use these because it'll prompt discussion. I said, I'll tell you what, son. I'll tell you what. You stick those where the sun don't shine. Because if I can't get people to call and react, you can sack me. And he went, oh, that's a bit big-headed. I said, it's the truth. I'm not going to read out something which isn't real, which hasn't come from a listener or a viewer. But that's what's happening all the time. I then moved the email machine to print out in my studio so that I decided which emails got read out. Not because I was trying to alter the conversation, but because I wanted to know what my listeners thought. And they were my listeners, not TalkSports or BBC London's or CWR's or Three Counties, mine. People didn't listen. Oh, I listen to BBC London. No, you don't. You listen to Danny Baker and John Gaunt. On TalkSport, you listen to Alan Brazil. And then you listen to Alan Brazil and John Gaunt having a go at each other. You don't listen because it's TalkSport. This is not a generic art form like that. But they're trying to make it into that because they want to control it. Because you do realise, don't you, mainstream media is completely controlled. Do you remember Tommy Boyd? Of course I did. He's a good friend of mine. I haven't seen him for years. He did some strange shows near the end of his time there. He was an interesting fella. But another one who didn't fit the mould. Didn't fit the mould. They don't like it. I was telling Dave today, there's a story about Terry Wogan. Terry Wogan used to come out of the lift as the jingle to his radio show was starting. This is the story. I don't know if it's true. It sounds true. He'd sit down, he'd start talking. The management hated him. Do you know why? Because you can't bottle or manage that, can you? That's called natural gift, natural talent. Chris Evans is the same. And I like to think that I'm a bit like that. I didn't actually have it all written out. I think I've said this to you before about Radio 5. I stood in for Edwina Curry. There's a talent. I stood in for Edwina Curry, and I got there about an hour before the show was on. I was trying to show a bit of willing. And this fella says to me, where have you been? He was the producer. from Oxford, Cambridge or something, yeah. I said, well, when's the show? Starts at 10 o'clock tonight, doesn't it? This is about 9 o'clock. He said, yes, but we normally like you in the afternoon. What for? So we can plan the discussions. I said, what do you need to plan the discussions for? He said, I'll show you. And he got out this huge map. You know, when you see these war movies and they're moving ships about on it, yeah, and they're going to take back Germany or get our troops off Dunkirk or whatever it is, right? It was like that. He said, so this is this, and then that's that. And then we're going to have this guest on the phone, this guest in the studio. This person's going to say this person's going to say that. And it all comes to this conclusion at the end of the 3 hours. I said, well, that's not a debate, is it? I said, that's stage managed. He didn't like it. I've got about a week's work and never got any more. But that's how all of this radio has gone. It's all controlled. Even when you think they're being opposition to the government or whatever, it's controlled opposition. That's why I'd never get a gig again. Even if I had the phones ringing like a wildfire in California, they wouldn't keep me on. Do you understand what I'm trying to get at? That's why I love the internet. That's why I love YouTube. I just wish I'd discovered it years ago. Phil says Ian Collins was awful. I think he was a stopgap between the late Mike Dickin and yourself, John. Yeah, I think he was, but now he's got a career. He's now got a career. And good luck to him. That's what I say. Good luck to him. But anyway, he'll probably slag me off. Mike Graham, he's another. Oh, shut up, John. He's another one. I remember him when he got the sack from that talk station in Edinburgh when they closed it down. He came to me and said, how do you make people call? I said, how could I tell you that? He said, no, how do you do it? I said, well, one, I wouldn't tell you because you should know naturally. And two, why would I give you away my secrets of my career? CJ plays, are you getting any live guests, John? Yeah, when I can find guests who I think are more entertaining than me, yes, I am. But I've got to build to that because it's not as simple as just getting them and then putting them on the phone. I'd want them in vision as well. So, yes, I will, but only if they're good. Just like taking phone calls. That's what I'm going to do eventually. That's where I'm trying to get to. So thank you for asking. Oh, right. I better stop before I slag off the whole of the radio industry and never get any work again. What's this one says? I'm old too, as you, John, but you've been out the game and off your stride for quite some time now. What does that mean? What, you think I'm no good? I must be pretty good because you've taken the time to try and slag me off on YouTube. Thank you very much. Kind of proving my point. And that can't be your name. I'm too old, as you are, John, but you have been out of the game and off your stride for quite some time now. No, I was ill. John, you should team up with Adrian Allen. Who's he? I don't need to team up with anyone, mate. I'm just me. If you don't like it, don't watch, don't listen. Fair enough. Afternoon, John. What's your opinion about James Whale? He's very much like you. That's your opinion. I like James, but he's not like me at all. Anyway, that's very nice of you, and I wish him all the best because he's very poorly. All right, I'll speak to you again, probably tomorrow. If not, it'll be Friday. I didn't do one yesterday, did I? Because my friend, I've told you my friend's really poorly, and I want to be available for, well, not for him, but for his family at the moment. So that's going to take precedence. That's another beauty of being your own boss. You can decide when you want to work and when you don't want to work. You don't have to get into, oh, it's 10 o'clock, John Gaunt's on. What's on the agenda today? There's nothing happening in the news. Let's make up some crap and just go on anyway. Don't want to do that. But I do want you to think more about ageism. I do want you to think about how you treat other people, because that's important, isn't it? Because I think I've definitely been guilty of doing that before, and I don't want to do that again. Manny, you're late. He says, hi, John. All right, Manny. Right, I'll be back hopefully tomorrow, if not the next day, until I speak to you again. If you've got kids, give them a kiss, give them a hug. Hey. Don't forget. Oh, did you listen to James O'Bellhead with Khan? No. Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to do that? James O'Brien, you mean? No. He's useless. Why would I want to listen to him? I can't believe he's still got a job. He's part of the controlled opposition. Right, I'll be back later. All the best. See you soon. If you've got kids, give them a kiss, give them a hug. Don't forget to tell them you love them. Bye.